Hi, this is Terry Bach, and welcome to the Untapped Potential for Women Over 50 Mini Summit. For women over the age of 50, it's often a time of awakening, of moving through the fog, of really realizing that it's your turn now. It's your time now, too. You've been so busy up until now, taking care of your family, your job, or your business, that you haven't really focused very well on yourself and what your needs and your wants are. So you might be looking back right now at in this time of your life, just some things that you thought earlier in your life you might want to be doing, but you haven't done them yet. Or maybe you have no idea of what you want this next part of your life to look like. So I have brought together some amazing experts on the topic of women over 50 and redesigning their lives on their terms. Each of our experts will be talking about this topic from their specific and unique point of view. So today I've invited Leigh Johnson as our expert. Leigh's a great example of how to turn life around over 50. Despite some major setbacks, including a long, dark mental health crisis. She's now living her dream in a simple beachside home in New Zealand. Love New Zealand. As a work and life coach, Leigh's vision is for women to believe their dreams are possible, enjoy financial comfort, and make a living doing work that they love. Welcome, Leigh.
Hi, Terry. Nice to be here.
Thank you. So, what do you think your biggest challenge has been in your 50s?
Well, you referred to my mental health crisis, and I have to say that coping with that, coming through that, was my biggest challenge, and
Okay.
and the challenge of reorganizing my life, resetting my mindset, reconfiguring my beliefs
Sure.
was the biggest challenge, because what had got me there certainly wasn't going to manage work for me for the next whatever 50 years.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, how did
yeah.
you do all that? What you mentioned a lot of re,
Yeah, I
re,
guess it is.
rethinking, and all of that
well
kind of stuff.
well I guess if I think about my mental health crisis, and perhaps if I talk about some of the things that put me there,
Okay,
because that
that
will
would be
talk about
helpful.
how what I needed to change to come through it. So
Sure.
there was an extraordinary amount of grief that I hadn't had to deal with before in my life. I lost my
Mm.
my best friend, the girl I'd known since
Oh,
we were three together.
wow.
Um, my daughter was suffering severe infertility issues, and we lost a wee baby, a wee prem baby.
Oh,
Oh, I
sorry.
still feel it, it's there.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
And my mother, the other grief was my loss of my mother. She was in the midst of some crazy dementia life that just made her really difficult, life really difficult for her, which
Sure.
impacted me. And the business was struggling. We had a business, and I wasn't taking care of myself. And I was trying to unpackage all this, and at the same time, experiencing this massive depression that lasted nearly 2 years. I mean, I just can't believe how long I was in this dark, lonely space.
Wow. That's a lot to go
So,
through, though, all at once. It really is.
it's hard to think back now and think how bad it was. It was. It was day
Yes.
by day. It was hour by hour sometimes. Um, and I started to unpack. There's another unword, reinvent. um, I, I try to tackle a problem by thinking about reflection and understanding. So I got really curious about what caused things. I, of course, was getting counselling
Okay.
from a psychiatrist. I was on antidepressants. But it was saying, okay, what's going to change for me? What can I do about changing my life.
Right, right.
Yeah, but I was in a terribly stuck place. Um,
Mm,
so it was the little things. And some of this had stemmed back to what I'd done earlier in my life when I'd had tough times. And that was every day. I talk about baby steps, every day taking one step, taking one action, no matter how small.
sure.
When I was really, really stuck and couldn't go out and I couldn't do anything, the only thing I did that day was cook a meal for my husband and I and get some joy in doing that. So
Yeah.
no matter how small, taking a baby step, taking action on one tiny thing, or it might have been doing some research or going out. And if I did go out and I did keep going to my business very much part time, going on the bus and smiling at someone, like trying to
Yes,
connect with somebody, a
right.
tiny action. And
And I think this is so important because I think we think that, especially as women, we think we have to jump from here to all the way over
yeah,
here to make a change in our life. And sometimes it just takes little tiny steps. And sometimes it's those little tiny steps that's all we can do in the
yes,
moment.
yeah.
Yeah.
When I talk to women who are in their, over 50s is my area, and some of us
Sure.
get so stuck through work or burnout, or like myself, a combination of those things, or just
Yes.
like, then it is the small steps. We can't leapfrog from where we are to where we want to be, because
No.
actually half the time we don't know where we want to be anyway. So
Right. Exactly. We're not even
we
sure
have
where
a
we've been
no,
sometimes.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that was probably the one best thing I did, and it took a long time, but it was, and I still do it. I do it today. I just like, what is the action? It's not conscious every day, but
Sure.
I'm always moving forward in little steps, and yeah, I'll talk a bit more about
Well,
how
and
I go about that. Yeah.
you were just talking before we started today that you're sitting down and writing every morning.
I've
It's
just started.
like a small baby step, but it's huge
Oh,
and
that's a huge step for
produces.
me.
Yeah.
Just committing to write every day for the month of January, but as if you can't commit to a challenge like that, and we can
Mhm.
be audience on all these people who say just do this and just do that, and I'm not saying that, because the challenge I might have given myself was, tomorrow I will write 25 minutes, or
Exactly.
today I will write for 25 minutes, or
Yes.
for
Or
this
maybe
week.
10 minutes. you
Yes.
know.
Yes.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yes, so don't expect too much of ourselves at the same time. Don't let ourselves down by thinking, "Oh God, I should have done that." Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because what we need is something that is positive and makes us feel good and brings more confidence to us. And
yes.
if you give yourself these big steps to do and you don't do it, then you feel like a failure.
You're
And
going backwards, not
yeah,
forward.
exactly.
Yes.
So yeah, I think it's something to find something that moves you forward, but it's also small enough so you can really take action on it.
And I think the reflection that we need to do with ourselves is not about, how do we avoid this self-criticism that we just talked about by, setting a big
Yes.
goal and then failing at it. Um,
Mhm.
and one of the things I learned to do, and it came through by uh, at that time I took up mindfulness meditation. I ended up
Okay.
on a 7 day silent retreat,
Oh,
something I
no.
never thought I'd
Wow.
do. I know, that was really scary, and actually the first time I went, it was really difficult because I wasn't in a good place, but I was cared for by people around me, and I spent that time with myself.
Okay.
And that reflection, and one thing I learned from the teacher was, when something's happening in my head and I'm conscious that there's this voice or this, and it's going all the time, of course, isn't it? It's
Right.
going all the
Sure.
time.
Right.
um, is to actually get really curious about that voice. It's like, uh, the question I often ask myself is, what's that about? What's that voice in my head telling me? Not what it's telling me, but what's that about? It's a real sense of curiosity. It's like, why the hell am I thinking
Good.
that? Where the
Yeah.
heck did that come from? And
Yeah,
it's
whose
sometimes
voice
it's
is
just
it?
whose
Whose
voice
voice
is
is
it?
it? Yeah, sometimes it's not
And,
yours.
and when that voice was at its harshest, when I was in real depression, sometimes, to be honest, the thing that really worked, you're the psychotherapist, that this worked for me, come up with my own little solutions, and it was
Sure.
actually to tell that voice to F off, verbally out loud, tell that
Okay.
whatever it was in my head to just go away, so
Right.
somehow to break the connection.
Exactly. A good
And
idea. Yes.
yeah, so but being curious about what's happening with ourselves, and that's a way to be very kind to ourselves and
Yeah.
practice self-compassion. Yeah,
Wonderful.
being curious.
Yeah. So how I know you've had a lot going on and I know you work with other women over 50. How have you been able to kind of draw on your own experiences that you've been through to help other women?
Ah. Oh, well, a whole range of experiences. So, when I was coming through this journey, and it is a journey of sort of rediscovery and finding out what my purpose was one of the things I wanted to do. So I was looking at who I wanted to be, how I wanted to live my life, what I wanted to do that was meaningful for me.
Sure.
And one of the exercises I did, I took on other people's books and learnings, and um, I'm often curious about how to ask the next question. So instead of saying, "What should I do next?" I
Mm,
would ask myself, "How should I think about this?" And that would
okay.
lead me, how should I think about this? That would lead me to look for people who had a similar experience, who were offering alternative ways to think about, the journey of over
Oh,
50 and getting unstuck.
right.
Um, and one of the things I did was a little exercise, and I think I found it in a Jack Canfield book, The Power of
Okay.
Focus, or, um, was to write myself a little mission statement.
Hmm.
So, and there
Yes.
was a little exercise, and that involved thinking about, it comes up with personal values. Who do I want to impact if I do?
Right.
How do I want to do that? What talents do I have? Or just a range of questions. And
Yes.
from that, I wrote myself this little note. I can picture myself. I was sitting at my computer doing some real sort of, deep diving amongst all this darkness and loneliness. And I've got the little post-it note in my little side drawer saying that I want to share my knowledge and talents. I can't quite remember it now, but it's basically to share my skills and talents, my unique talents with others as a way of helping them.
Wonderful.
So
Yeah.
it's very conceptual, but it is what I'm about. For some reason, I feel drawn to sharing what I have, and for some reason, I've got ways of thinking that other people, go, "Oh, I hadn't ever thought about it
Yeah.
like that."
And
Yeah.
I think from as coaches, we do draw from our own experiences. I mean, this is why I got into this area of interest too, was my own experience of just kind of
Yeah.
looking up and thinking, what am I doing in my life? This isn't how I imagined my life. I'm not going to change it now. When am I going to change it? So that's when
Yeah.
I started making some big changes in my life too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How
mission
about
statement. I think that
yes, sorry.
statement is good for people who aren't in their own business even. It's kind of a statement about who you are, what your unique talents are, because I think as women, that's often something that we have a hard time um, identifying.
We do, and it's
Yeah,
something I do with my clients, and it's in the online course I have as an exercise about to help you discover what has become unconscious competencies. We forget.
mm,
For God's sake, we've got 30, 40 years life experience as a grown up, well, sort of.
right.
And
Yes.
and what have we learned? And when we're starting to feel like we're feeling invisible, or we don't have a skill set that people want anymore, and technology is moving so fast, you know,
Right.
we it it's a really good exercise to sit down and find out for ourselves and get reflective, get curious on what
Right.
we're good at. And some of that has become unconscious. And
Yeah.
one way to do that, and this might require being a little bit vulnerable, and that's one of the other things I did. You know, you have to get vulnerable, but and you know, to sort of to get help, and that
Right.
takes courage. Vulnerability takes
It
courage.
does. It
Yeah.
does. It does.
But
Yeah.
but one practical step is, you know, find 5 friends that
Hmm.
you trust, yeah, that you value
Right.
their opinion. And if you can't think of 5 and you just want to test this idea, find one, baby step,
Right.
and ask them to identify for you what they see as your skills. What are you really good at? What do you
Yeah.
make look easy? What do you think that you've forgotten that you're good at? You know, these questions are
That's a great
pretty
idea
cool.
because they know
Yeah,
you. And
they
sometimes
know
it's
you.
not even just the skills, like what are you good at, but
Yeah.
are we that's different from everybody else? We are
Ah, it's a
so
very good.
unique. And
Yes,
so it may not be a skill right away. It might just be
I,
you're
I totally
kind.
agree.
And that's a part of you that maybe other people aren't kind, or you're observant or, things like that are
Yes,
also important.
yes. So, because I think of, I call myself a work and life coach because the two aren't separate. And though I draw on my
Right.
experience
Right.
as you know, in the recruitment industry and as owner of a recruitment business and building a business and did all that, and talking about careers and thinking
Hmm.
about what is the right job for this person as well as what the right person for the job for the client was.
Exactly.
I
Yes.
was really interested in that, and it's like um, skill, but on the one, so that's on the one side when we want to earn a living doing what we enjoy, right?
Yes.
And on the other hand, our life is so integrated into that. So the two cannot be separated. So when
No.
I talk to my clients, and this is, I guess, one thing I learned from my experiences, is how do I want my life to be? I heard myself saying to a coaching client one
Sure.
day who was talking about a job transition. I said, well, I'd rather not talk about your job today or your next job. I want to talk about how you want your life to be. So if we go out into that
Hmm.
larger realm and then get them thinking, and I have some exercises that I use to help people do that, is to think, how do I want my life to be? Not even what do I want to do.
Right.
How do I want to be? Do I want to be live with grace? Do I want to be kind? Do I want to feel
Hmm.
calm? Do I want to be able to help others? How do I want my life to be? Do I just want to chill out on the beach all the time?
I
You
had
know,
a coach who would say, you want to dream your life and then back your business into that. So you want your
yeah,
business to work around your life, not the other
yes.
way, which tends to be the way most of us do it. We run
Yes.
our business and then we find time for our life in between, but
That's right.
backwards.
I tell you, and I had a really strong lesson in this. You know, I was not getting well from this darkness and loneliness. And I was had a business and I worked in that business and I cut back to part time and my husband came in to support me in the business and we had great staff. One day I quit.
Mm,
I quit my job in my business. I just said to him, Grant, I cannot keep going to work, even part time, because I'm not getting well. And I'd had it, you know, and it was huge. It was huge for him, but
wow.
it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So that was a huge leap, but
And I think we
it
know
was on
these
the basis
things.
of,
Yeah. If we allow ourselves to listen to our intuition or that inner voice or whatever you want to call it, that guidance.
and stop listening to
Yeah.
everybody else at it, or stop listening to
Mm,
that voice in your head that tells you you think you know what they're thinking. You don't know
right.
what that friend
Right.
is thinking about you, and actually it doesn't matter what they think about you. They're going to have an opinion anyway. So,
Yeah.
you know, changing one thing in your life may not, you don't know. The thing is, we think other people are focused on us, but honestly,
Not,
they're
no,
not. They're
no,
thinking about their own life. So think
right.
about yourself. Have some self-compassion. Get selfish. That was a
Yes,
huge step in being
yes.
selfish. But the small things we can do, and trying to let go of others' expectations, or trying to let go of those expectations that we were brought up with. You
Hmm.
know, what is
Yeah.
my mother going to think if I do this? Because she's always said I've been brought up from the early age to be like this. I mean,
There's
that
a lot of
takes baby
shoulds, yeah,
steps.
that we've learned to
Yeah,
live by.
yeah,
Yeah. And one of the things I have
yeah.
learned is really to go within and listen to our own voice, because we've gotten so good at dismissing it. And,
Mm.
and that's the powerful part of ourselves, I think, that it tells you, like your voice told you, I don't want to work this job anymore.
I could not
Yes.
physically,
And you listen to
anxiety
it.
levels
Yes.
physically. It took a couple of years because I knew I wanted to get out, and we were looking at ways to exit from the business
Yeah.
overall. And I
Mhm.
had shared this, but it was a internal struggle that came to light one day when I just said, if I am going to get well again, I have I have to take this step.
Exactly. You
And
took care of yourself. Yes.
yeah, and I continue
Mm.
to do that. You said I'm
Good.
living my dream,
Yes.
right? And we are. We're just so fortunate.
Mm.
And now I use that. Your question was, how do I use my experience? I use my personal experience, my mental health, my experiences throughout my adult life, my work, my background, my business, my recruitment, career advice
Yes.
background to help others. And uh, I also have found, and it's interesting to see that just by choosing to live my life this way and be an example, be an inspiration to others. I do it with coaching. I'm
Hmm.
online. I have a website, and if you'd like, or in my Facebook group, if you'd like to come
Okay.
over and find secrets to loving life over 50, or sheloveslifeover50.com,
Yes.
sheloveslifeover50.com.
Okay.
I share these ideas I have because I've discovered I do think a bit differently to others, and I want to try and find ways to inspire other women
Absolutely.
to think differently, to think about
Yes.
possibility, to understand how they can, you know, to support them taking these baby steps,
Exactly.
to have um, a mindset about continual sort of learning and curiosity and belief,
Hmm.
and uncovering our limiting beliefs,
Yes.
and thinking about others' expectations, and then deciding what expectations we want of ourselves, and perhaps putting them ahead of others for a
Right.
change. No,
Yes. And that's a
letting
big
go of this
lesson.
need.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
Lee, is there
being
anything else, any other advice you have for those about, for other women about living their dream? Yeah.
living their dream.
Advice?
I think my key point is baby steps, and it's steps. It is an action.
Right.
Be curious, be kind to yourself. Try and live with grace. That's about
Mhm.
being curious, kind, non-judgmental,
Yeah. No criticism.
self-compassion, and taking the actions each day that are going to move you towards where you want to be, and
Right.
being grateful, at the same time. Always
Exactly.
being grateful. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So I know that you have a free gift for our listeners. Would you describe that for us?
Right, yeah. So I've got an ebook available, and I've published the first 5 chapters. And what they share is about part of my journey. So you can, I guess, relate to that, but also discover that you're not alone in this
Yeah.
journey that we're on. And then I introduced the idea of having some principles or values, and pegging some of those values, actually getting curious about
Exactly.
there's that word again, about what they are, and that's a good foundation for how you want to live your life. So if you come over onto, oh, you'll provide the link.
I will provide the
You
link,
can
yes. Yeah,
and get the first 5 chapters of my ebook. And not
wonderful.
only that, that will introduce you into my sort of She Loves Life Over 50 world. There's articles and inspiration there to share. I'm in the very slow process, baby
Mhm.
steps, of building an online. It's taken nearly 5 years to get to this point with my online
Yeah, it
community.
takes a while.
It takes a while, and I'm
It
enjoying
does.
it. And
Good. And that's what's important. That's really what's important,
yeah,
that you're enjoying it. And it's so much different than the job you had before in your own business that you weren't doing
yes.
anymore. Yeah.
And what I've learned is that there is
Yeah.
so much opportunity for us.
Yes.
Um, and I don't just mean about building an online business. There is so
No,
many ways to think about how we live our lives that
exactly.
it just opens up
Yes.
opportunities for
And
people.
so for the
Yeah.
listeners, what all you need to do is click on the button below the video, and it'll take you right to Leigh's free gift, her first 5 chapters of her book. So, Leigh, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it, and all your experiences have been really helpful. And I know that you're
Thank
helping a
you.
lot of other women over 50 as well. And for the audience, I want
That
to
gives me
I want to thank you as well too for being here and participating in the Untapped Potential for Women Over 50 mini summit. And be sure you tune in tomorrow again, where you will hear yet another expert talking about her unique point of view about redesigning and living your life on your terms. So I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.